Welcome to Unique People Stories. What is the most unexplained thing that's happened to you? 1988. We were renting a refurbished house that was part log cabin from the 1700s. Was on the john in the bathroom when I heard 3 very loud knocks on the wall beneath the bathroom window. Looked out the window, nada. 30 seconds later it happened again, and again nothing outside. Later, wife and I decide to plant some stuff beneath the bathroom window outside. And 4 inches down we hit a concrete slab. Turns out the bathroom used to be entrance way to the log house. Spooky as hell. The exact same thing happened to me. I live in a bungalow, and in my room there was a window. I was sitting by my desk by the window one night, when I heard 3 distinct knocks. I got my dog and my dad and we looked outside. My dad said I was likely just being paranoid. I go back to sit by my desk and I hear 3 knocks again and again. There is a tall fence surrounding my house with no entrance but a gate which you need a code to use. So to this day I still have no idea what the 3 repeated knocks were. My family has tons of weird paranormal stuff, but the one I actively think about had nothing to do with ghosts or anything. My best friend vanished in like 4th or 5th grade. Her whole family just up and left without warning. Got a phone call from her months later saying she missed me and she was safe but wasn't allowed to give any details. Someone came in the room and she had to hang up. To this day I have no freaking clue what happened. Every now and then I try to find her on social media. No luck. Yet. I've had a similar thing happen, though not as intriguing as yours, as there was no phone call later on. My family was friends with another family from my stepfather's old military days and kept in touch once we rotated back stateside. They lived in Michigan while we lived in Pennsylvania. One day, the calls and letters just stopped. No more visits. Nothing. They couldn't be reached at their old phone numbers. And none of them have ever shown up on social media by their proper names. I still look them up every now and again. This was years ago in the late 90s, so I doubt I'd contact them if I ever actually found them. I think it would feel too much like an intrusion at this point. I always just assumed they moved on with their lives. But it is odd that after being friends across states and across Europe for so long that, just like that, no goodbye, no nice to have known you, and literally no means to contact them in any way, that they're just gone without a trace. You'd think at least one of the daughters would have shown up on Facebook or Instagram, as they're my age. Worked as a night auditor at an old hotel. It was around 2 a.m. and I get a phone call from the pool room, which is supposed to be closed. I pick up the phone and answer and all I hear is very heavy breathing. I hang up the phone and check the cameras and all the lights are on in the pool room. So I go down the hallway to kick whoever it is out. But as I get close to the glass door it is so cold I can see my breath. The door is completely fogged over and all the lights are out. I open the door and the light above me comes on because they are motion sensor lights. I am looking around but I don't see anything. Then the light comes on across the pool from me but nothing is there. Then every light in a path begins to light up around one side of the pool as if something is walking towards me. I ran out of there so fast and locked myself in my manager's office and stayed until sunrise. But the worst was yet to come. I had played it off in my head as bugs causing the motion sensor lights to go off. I was telling my manager about my experience so he would get a good laugh. When I told him about the phone call from the pool he didn't laugh at all. He asked me if I was 100% positive the caller I'd said the pool room, and I said yeah. Then he told me there hasn't been a phone in the pool room for 30 years. I told him there was no way because that would be physically impossible. He told me to go look for myself. I looked and there was no phone. Complete and total mindfuck because I didn't believe in the supernatural at all before that. But to this day no matter how many ways I try to rationalize it, I just can't. It is completely unexplainable. First job was in a real old hospital. The call lights were on phones that would light up with the room number and ring. Phone above me kept doing a half ring, and it'd always look up a little too late to see the room number. Finally see the floor. 7E. A locked and closed unit that used to be an oncology floor. Happens a couple more times and I finally say fuck it and go look and tell whatever resident is accidentally hitting buttons while napping to be more careful so they don't get in trouble. I badge the door, and it swings open to a pitch black hallway. Only light is coming from an exit sign. Then the light above the last door on the right that lets you know someone pushed the call light, doing a little blinking thing turning on and off. Run down to the end of the hall. Spartan kick the door open. Quickly look around the room to see that there is nobody there. Shut the call light off and sprint the fuck off that unit. put in for a work order when I got back for the issue with the call light. Maintenance calls me to let me know that the call lights are all disabled on that floor since it shut down, and we aren't supposed to get call lights from other floors. Didn't argue. Just, nope. I live in a beach town and one of my friends had just got back to her parents' house for the summer. So I went over to hang out for a little while. Since it wasn't late when I went to go home, I figured I'd take the long way home to drive along the bay for the view of the stars and the lights of the ships waiting to go up the river. When I got to the road that runs along the bay, I realized I wasn't going to see anything because heavy fog had rolled in, which is super common in the spring. This road is a 25 miles per hour road with the beach and trails over the dunes on the left, and houses on the right. I was driving along the road with pretty bad visibility with how foggy and dark it was. All of a sudden from my left I see a figure coming up the dune and towards the road. I slammed on my brakes hard enough to skid a little because I thought it was someone coming off the beach to go to a house across the road. It had the shape of a woman in a long dress, but I couldn't see any facial features. When it got to the middle of the road, the figure it just floated up at an angle and disappeared. There wasn't a beach access trail where I saw it, and I can't figure an logical explanation for the way it hovered and took off. I was stopped and watched it until it disappeared, trying to figure it out. It freaked me out pretty bad, honestly. And even 5 to 6 years later I still can picture the way it moved like it was yesterday. About 1973 I went to work, got out of the car, walked to the entrance, and on the way saluted Warrant Officer Fardy because he was in uniform. He had always worn civilian clothes. He waved me on and said he'd be in a minute. I got to my office and expected to be the first one there because I always got there first as the lowest ranking guy in the office and had to make the coffee. I was surprised that the chief, a captain, and his senior sergeant were already in the office. The captain asked me to sit down at my desk. I thought I was in trouble. He said he had some bad news. Warrant Officer Fardy was killed in a head-on collision at 3 a.m. that morning. I protested that I had just seen him outside in the parking lot. The captain said he and the sergeant had identified the body just an hour earlier. Stayed over at a friend's house. In the middle of the night I woke up to what sounded like someone walking in the attic above us. Thought nothing more of it and went back to sleep. Wake up and on his ceiling were footprints in a perfect circle around his light bulb, as if someone was walking upside down around the light. Showed it to him and he just shrugged and said he thought his house was haunted, but it didn't bother him. That was 30 years ago and I still remember it like it was yesterday. Driving down a dark highway in Alabama with my fiancée when 2 white orbs about 3 to 5 inches in diameter came through the upper right side of my windshield and out through the roof. I thought I lost my mind, but she looked equally as shocked as I did, and she described the exact same thing. We were still in a bit of a shock couple minutes later when we came upon an SUV flipped upside down. A lone police officer waved us around the wreck. No one was in the car. We guessed the EMTs already came. We can't shake the feeling that maybe the 2 orbs were 2 people that died in the accident. I had an experience where I came upon a really bad 3-car accident early one morning before anyone had responded. It was so bad at first I thought it had to be some kind of staged accident like they do for teens with drunk driving and show them the wreckage. There was debris all over the road, an engine block out of an SUV and a guy obviously dead in a car up against the side rail that was so compacted the backseat looked like it was filled with black garbage bags, but it was actually what was left of the rear end of the car. There was a girl laying face down with a horrible compound fracture to one arm that was already pooling blood. I knew not to try and move her, so I held her other hand, the one that wasn't fractured, and told her not to move, although there was no chance of that and that there had been an accident, but help was on the way. By that time other people had stopped and I could hear the sirens off in the distance. There are not words that can capture what happened next, and I struggle to tell this part because I can't convey it nearly as incredible as it was. As I was holding her hand, suddenly I felt what I can only describe as feeling like an electric ball about the size of a softball. It was very warm and tingling, kind of like when you touch your tongue to a battery, but way more intense. It pressed itself into my palm from hers with a solid pressure. I didn't see anything, but I felt something I've never felt before or since. It moved up my arm very deliberately and I could feel it pass onto my shoulder, up the side of my neck, and then rise into the air above my head, and it was gone. As it left, I suddenly not only felt completely calm but knew that she had died and there was nothing more I could do for her, but that somehow that was okay. I checked for her pulse and there was none. I calmly walked back to my car and that was it. I was actually in nursing school at the time, and although I traveled that road regularly, had left extra early that morning to get a jump on paperwork in preparation for a clinical that day. It made me question a lot of things. I struggled for a long time about whether or not I should contact the family and at the very least let them know their daughter hadn't been alone when she passed. I didn't think there was any way I could tell them what really happened, and even now writing this I know it sounds crazy, but it's absolutely true. I've been around the dead and dying and I've held their hands before. Cleaned and dressed then, etc. This was the one and only time anything like this occurred. Thank you for listening. Have you ever experienced something unnerving that makes you think about it until this day? Check out our other videos. Like, share and subscribe if you like the content.